Well, hi everyone, and welcome once again to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. And today I want to talk about the question, can the AMC Apes bring back Laserium? Now, a lot of you people might be wondering, well, what's an AMC Ape? What's a Laserium? So I'm going to answer both of those questions for you. So in the 1970s, a company called Laserium pioneered a new form of musical and visual entertainment. They called them the Laserium shows. The way it worked would be a music album or a compilation of different songs or other pieces of music curated by Laserium would be played, and all the while there would be a laser show going on. So various lasers of various colors forming different shapes with a wonderful 3D effect, a fully immersive audio visual experience. Most of these were performed in planetariums because you got a geospheric dome that gave you the right spatial sensibilities to create one of these kinds of shows. And in the 70s and 80s, they were very popular. And in one form or another, they continued on and off well into the 21st century, although the 70s and 80s were their heyday. Now, the shows were great fun. And some might ask, well, what's the point? And the point, really, to understand the point, you've got to go back to why there's always been, so long as entertainment has existed, there's always been this contrast between the private entertainment that occurs in the home and the public entertainment that occurs in a space that you share with strangers. Now, the modern age of electronics really made these differences all the more apparent. But even before that, there was the chamber music, named because it was played in the chamber of a large aristocrat's home, but you couldn't buy tickets to it. Only the lord of the manor and his friends and family would come see it. By contrast, there was the concert hall, huge performances in grand locations that were a shared public experience. Now, within these spaces, sometimes the aristocrat, the lord of the manor, was separated somewhat physically from the rest of the people. He would be in a box, the rest of the people would be down in the stalls. But Richard Wagner wanted to even eliminate that delineation and make his opera performances a public space where everyone was on an equal playing field, all standing in awe before the music. And that's why Bayreuth, the great Bavarian opera house of the Wagner family, doesn't have segregated boxes. Very interesting. Fasting forward, let's go to the age of cinema. So cinema started as a public type of entertainment because unless you were exceedingly wealthy, you couldn't have a cinema in your home. Then television happened, and you could get something that was similar to a cinematic experience in your home. It was, of course, smaller in size, lesser in quality, but it nevertheless scared the cinema industry. So they started making more color films. They came out with 3D. They came out with wide formats like Cinerama, Todeo, Ultra Panavision, Super Panavision, VistaVision before that, and stereophonic surround sound, sometimes as much as 6 channels in the case of Todeo, or even 7 in the case of Cinerama, on very high fidelity magnetic film. There have been many other instances of trying to compete when Betamax and later Laserdisc became high quality formats to watch films in your home. THX made the average neighborhood cinema sound and look better. So there's always this push and pull. Whenever some form of entertainment that used to be in the public sphere gets condensed and bite-sized for the home audience, those who have an interest in promoting that kind of format in the public space tend to make it bigger and better. So how does this relate to Laserium? Well, in the 1970s, this was in many ways the golden age of analog hi-fi. The equipment was getting really good. By the end of the decade, you had a lot of specialty audiophile labels, Mobile Fidelity, Nautilus, Superdisc, Master Sound, etc. And so you could chill out, groove out, trip out at home, listening to your favorite recordings of any genre. And if you're willing to save up and spend, you could get it to sound really, really good. And remember, the inflation, bad though it was in the late 70s, it's a lot worse now, boys and girls. Anyway, so Laserium thought, what can we do to the music listening experience that cannot be replicated in the home and that doesn't already exist? Well, live music obviously already exists, but what didn't exist was a fully fledged laser show that would provide a visual component to the music, a complementary artistic component. And voila, because the lasers were large, they required a professional laserist, an artist with a great deal of technical knowledge to operate them. It's not the kind of thing that you could have in your home, even if you had a huge stereo system. And so Laserium became very, very popular because people always want their entertainment to get bigger and better. It's just part of human nature. And people loved it. But as gaming came into the home, giving people an interactive experience, and as home theater became more affordable, as satellite television gave people more and more options, and then as the internet blew everything open, Laserium started to fade. I think many of the original laserists are still around. I know they did try to revive it because I went there just well, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15 now. I'm not good with those sorts of numbers, people, but they tried to revive it at the Vine Theater in Hollywood, and it was as good as ever because everyone loves good music played on big cinematic JBL or Altec Lansing speakers, and they all love lasers. You can't go wrong, and the music that they've typically chosen at Laserium to accompany the music, the lasers rather, has typically been great. I mean, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon is, I think, the most popular show, but they had so many, and they were all great. They had classical ones, funk ones, rock ones, you name it. So AMC Apes, what the hell are those? You might be asking. Well, when the world shut down because of the pandemic and all of that jazz, many people thought the traditional movie theater cinema industry was going down and it would never come back up. But it was at this time that a young, generally young group of retail investors decided to buy shares in AMC, the world's largest chain of cinemas. They saved the company. They saved it from insolvency. They saved it from likely having to shut down all or most of their locations. And they've built back up. They have a CEO called Adam Aron, who's been very much engaged with the apes and all of that. And one of the things that AMC and other cinema operators have been thinking of is what can we do to offer people a form of entertainment they cannot get in the home now that you can stream a 4K surround sound movie, a very recent one, at home, and it looks good and sounds good. So they've been trying different things, such as broadcasting live events. Now, obviously, that's something that you can do at home, and it's something that you couldn't do in the past in theaters when you were reliant solely on film. But with the advent of digital projection, you can get high quality video of live events projected, where 40, 50 years ago, video projection systems weren't really good enough to, at a high resolution, fill the typically sized cinema screen. So they've been doing that, live sporting events, live concerts, but what about Laserium? And you could even, bring it into the 21st century, combine the lasers with sort of lights that are computer operated with interesting projections, 4K projections, could be really cool. And it could be a way to get people interested in musical experiences again, and multimedia experiences, and revive the cinema along the lines that AMC has been doing in trying to offer things that go beyond the 2-hour film with the beginning, middle, and end, broadcasting live concerts, showing concert films in Dolby Atmos and other sophisticated sound formats. So why not put lasers and laserium shows in particular into that mix? Some of the theaters you wouldn't even need to physically modify. Some might require minor modification. But since laserium is all about sitting in a dark room, letting the lasers fill the space, and the music would play on the existing cinema speakers, it seems kind of like a no-brainer. So if there are any AMC apes listening who, as a collective unit, do have the ear of the biggest cinema operator in the world, why not get the company's directors to think about Laserium? The technology is still there. Many of the original artists are still there. The concept is timeless. Just something to think about. Like, subscribe. We will see you next time. Take care.